Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of Theorymon TCG podcast. Today we have a very special episode because our guest is none other than Igor Costa. Hey Igor, do you want to say hello?
Hello everyone, I guess.
We previously had another guest in the show, so we let him brag himself a little bit about his accomplishments, so we're going to do the same for you. It's not that people don't know you, but I don't know, maybe someone is a total noob and is listening and doesn't know who Igor Costa is.
So I won 2012 World Championships, and I also got second place in 2014 Worlds, and last year I got third place. So I made top 4 in the last 4 years, and I also won 4 nationals in Portugal, but
yeah, that's all. That also counts, I think.
Quite the accomplishments.
Yeah, so if I can say that myself, I think you're one of the best in the game, one of the best players ever, so it's a great honor to have you here. We also share the fact that we're all Portuguese in here, and we're all speaking in English, which is a little awkward, but I think we'll manage. Okay, so the plan for today is just to, I don't know, we have some topics here to go through with you, and then just chill talk and whatever we feel like. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, so feel free to do it.
okay.
Don't hold back. Do you want to go, João?
Yeah, sure, why not? So, talking about this last season, Igor, because you actually moved to the United States. So basically, what was like the shift from playing in Portugal and then to go play to the United States? What was it like?
Okay, this year I didn't really try that hard to play in tournaments. So even in Portugal, I didn't try to like go for the top because I knew I couldn't like get the top 22 in Europe to get my day 2 at World. So I was playing like not as competitive this year.
Yeah.
But the difference is like here there's a lot more players and we face different decks all rounds basically, and in Portugal we would face like basically the same deck over and over. People would just copy lists and play the same deck.
So would you say it's very different to plan out a deck, what deck to bring to tournament in Portugal than to the United States?
I feel like it's more here you need a more consistent deck than in Portugal. Portugal, you just need like a deck that beats the usual decks, and that's...
Yeah, everyone counters everyone, basically.
You can meta call in Portugal, right? I mean,
it's not only Portugal. I feel like most of Europe is like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, but you still played some tournaments here in Portugal. You played like regionals in autumn, right?
Yeah, I played the Regi Ice, Regi Steel, and...
Bronze.
Bronze deck, so that wasn't like popular.
What was the idea behind that deck?
Yeah, and also here I played at least like every tournament 3 rounds or 4 rounds, and then I ended up dropping out of the tournament.
Oh, really?
Because like since I don't need the points, I won't be able to make top 22 in Europe.
Yeah.
Don't take points away from people.
The motivation is not the same. Well, so you changed from basically playing standard here in Europe to playing mostly expanded in the United States, right?
Not really.
Okay.
I
was just saying that because I saw some posts from you on Facebook and you were like playing.
I was trying because I'm more used to playing standard, so I had to practice more to play expanded, and regionals are like the biggest tournaments here.
Yeah.
So those are expanded. We need to like practice
but
for
you
those.
Still played in some standard tournaments there.
Yeah. We played both standard and...
What decks were you piloting?
I played Zoroark with Vesper Queen in standard.
Okay.
The deck was okay, but I feel like I misplayed with the deck from not like... I was too cocky, thinking it's that easy, and like after playing expanded for a while, it made me like realize I need to practice more. That's why I'm gonna start like practice since tomorrow on stream.
Yeah, Worlds is coming, right? You gotta...
In nationals.
Yeah.
You're playing for nationals, right?
Yeah, I am.
What nationals?
US nationals.
You can play there?
I can.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. That's
just in one nationals, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
So,
So
you're
what-
taking that seriously?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I'll try since it's my opportunity.
Yeah.
So what's your idea for the meta for the nationals in US? What do you think will be played?
I have no clue so far because people
Really?
have been playing expanded since like the beginning, and like they even changing through standard. They usually play the same decks from expanded. They just make them different. Like Ivedal, Darkrai is too popular here. I don't know if it's good, but yeah, and Toad, it's like played in both.
Because
And
people there approach a standard metagame in a very different way. They basically
Mhm.
just are used to play the same decks in expanded and shift to standard with the same deck.
Is it?
It seems like Night March and Revenant is still really popular there, no?
of course, not. I don't know about Revenant though.
Okay.
Because Revenant was actually, it seemed to be big in expanded,
Yeah.
but not in standard.
That's where the list with the bursting balloons originated from, I think.
Oh,
And then people ported to standard. But I do agree that I think it's better. It might be better in standard than it is in expanded. I don't really know what it gains in expanded to make it so much better, but I might be missing something.
yeah,
Might be just a meta game.
Yeah, maybe. Makes sense. That makes sense. But
Yeah.
although, I mean, standard is going to be filled with Night March, right? It's probably the best deck right now, and it's also one of Trevenant's best matchups, so...
But because Night March is so hated and people like to counter it, don't you think that nationals in US will have much more counters to Night March than Night March itself?
I don't know if people take Night March that serious here or not, because either they play it or they like know they're gonna lose against it. They don't try to attack against it.
Really?
Like, I don't think you can attack against Night March because all the attacks you think you're gonna do to make your matchup better won't happen.
Yeah.
I tried
that's
Wailord. I tried Wailord with Shamans and whatever not, and they can still like play around it by just slice under your Pokemon's target whistle your Shamans and kill them over and over, and also having that tool, the Fury Belt, that makes like Mew or even the Joltik harder to kill with Shamans. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there's like not a lot you can do.
Yeah, I think the thing with Night March is it's not something that you can tech with a card or two. You kind of have to build your whole deck to...
Exactly.
And the decks that you build to counter it are not that great on their own. Like Trevenant might have a little bit of trouble in a huge tournament like the US has, with a lot of rounds. You're bound to face some Ivoltol decks, for example, which are a little bit of a pain. And you might end losing that way, I think. That's at least how I see it.
Yeah, either you have a deck that can beat Night March by itself, or you can't against it. Like Trainer Lock, if you start Trainer Lock before they get to discard the Night Marches.
Yeah.
Or like spread damage like Crowbats or Greninja.
So I think we can expect a lot of Night March in US Nationals, right?
For sure.
That's going to be the thing, yeah. And I think we can also pivot that into the Worlds talk. I mean, Worlds is not that far away, and the format is exactly the same. So it's also a huge tournament. So it's going to be a lot of Night March, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. You hope so.
For you, Igor.
Why do you say that?
So I can counter Night March and.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, it does make things easier to predict, right? I also like to go into a tournament when I can expect the meta to be exactly what I predicted, but it's easier, I think, in smaller tournaments like those we have here than it is in a huge tournament.
It's a pretty small tournament.
Sorry?
I feel like now Worlds is a pretty small tournament.
How many people are? I actually.
Usually there's 200 a World.
300?
200.
200. Oh, okay, so yeah, it's.
Oh, but you're talking day 2, right?
Yeah, because the day one,
yeah.
day one doesn't really matter. It's like the people that don't really have their invites.
It matters to me, man.
I know. It will matter to me this year too, though.
In 2015, we saw a really big change between day 1 meta and day 2.
But what I'm saying is only. I mean, this day one only. I mean, not only. It's more people that go to day 2 than used to be, because when we had, like, last chance qualifiers, it was only 8 people out of, I don't know.
Now if you go 5-0,
Now like 64 people go to the next day, and the next day only has 64 people. So like the second day is only 100 and something.
Yeah, it starts getting manageable in terms of number of players. So yeah, we can actually maybe start tacking, and plus it's like it's the best player, so you're not going to be seeing random decks
to day 2. So
yeah,
you can definitely like deck against the people. Like 128 is not that much.
Yeah, and plus it's all good players, as I was saying, and there's really not the fear of running into that random kid with a Pyro deck or something like that. So.
And still beat it with Virgin.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna face bad matchups, but even if you lose, it's not that bad. You can still manage to win the others. So
yeah,
even if your deck has a bad matchup, doesn't matter. I feel like.
Yeah. So if history has taught us anything about Worlds, is that in Worlds the decks with the best decks or most creative decks actually do well, because it's actually smaller tournament than, for example, the nationals in US.
Yeah, this is quite funny, because it kind of feels like you're more comfortable playing Worlds than you are playing nationals in the US.
Exactly. I think all the people are, because of that.
Okay.
And
it's interesting.
I don't remember seeing the deck that won US nationals winning Worlds.
Yeah, that is true.
It was only one year, I think, 2007. It was the same deck that won. Oh, and 2008 because of blocks. But other than that, I think it has been always different decks. Do you think that Americans will have an harder time adjusting to Worlds, because, well, they've been playing Expanded most of the time?
I mean, I don't think so, because like Expanded makes you prepare better for Extender, to be honest, because you play a deck with cards that you wouldn't play with, right? And when you have to take those cards out, you get a lot of like space in your deck. I feel like I played Night March, and after playing Expanded and switching to Standard again, I got like a lot of free spaces in my deck that made the deck like still beating the same matchups and whatever.
That's interesting, because you have to play like extra stuff to counter other extra stuff that people are playing, something like that. And then suddenly you can take them out.
So basically, the American decks will have more decks than the others. They used to play with more spaces.
What?
Yeah, they used to play more stuff, and now they I don't know, dude.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, with the Expanded, you have the turn 1 Getsis, which I think is a huge difference in the decks that you can play there. I mean, it's really scary if you're playing Night March and you lose basically all your hand on the first turn.
Yeah, what I mean that is, if that doesn't translate to some plays that you don't need to make in Standard, but American players are so used to make those calculations that maybe might affect their overall playability on Standard. Although there are a lot of good players, so just said the turn on Getsis. Maybe you don't make your deck as fluid.
Yeah. One of those tournaments I was playing Standard and I wasn't Expanded, and I wasn't expecting the Getsis, and my opponent Getsis me for 6 cards.
Yeah.
But if you play too much around that on Standard, you might get punished.
But I don't think people play around that even in Expanded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they have it, they have it.
Because it's like so random that people play one Getsis. If you see it on game 1, you will predict it on game like 2 or 3.
Oh, I thought it was a staple.
You don't play around some cards on first game. I don't feel like.
Okay. That does make sense.
Unless you're playing like regular deck that I would play it, like Sab Laylock and Toad something. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes some sense. So have you looked into Standard yet?
I did. Nationals will be Standard, so...
Yeah. we have some questions to ask you to pick your brain about the I guess the current winners of past nationals. I think we can go through the results, right?
Why not?
Do you have that,
I do.
João? Can you?
Yeah, so dominating the metagame is, of course, Night March. I mean, no one predicted that, right? And then we have Greninja. And from that point on, it's pretty much a bit random, because we have Trevenant and we have Waterbox, basically the new deck that popped up after the German Nationals. But since then, there have been only a few tournaments, so... And there's a lot of decks. When we count the results, a lot of these decks are tied. Just Night March blows them all away when it comes to results.
Yeah, I think we can attach the thing that you did to the episode somehow, like have a link there so that people can see what we're looking at. Like we have the spreadsheet over here with the results. And the thing that I think it strikes me the most is that before Fates Collide, we see 25 Night March tops. And after Fates Collide, it's even more Night March and less of the other decks, which really surprised me because people were talking about N being a thing and N being good against Night March, and it seems like Night March is doing just fine and is thriving actually after.
I mean, N isn't that good against Night March because if the Night March is a good player, you'll fin his deck, and even N won't
exactly
shit him because like he only has good cards in his hand.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
And also, I can look at this list and see that only decks that beat Night March are in the top with Night March.
Yeah,
that's right.
That is
we need
true.
Waterbox, Trevenant, and Vespiquen, just so what I talked about.
Yeah.
Spread and lock decks with a lock.
We actually saw a lot. We saw not a lot of Waterbox, but we saw some Waterbox topping, and especially at German Nationals where it won. But then we didn't really see a lot of them in the Nationals after Fates. Have you played the deck, Igor?
Not yet, but I heard it's pretty. The list I list was inconsistent. So
you think it's inconsistent?
Yeah, an inconsistent list. Yeah.
Okay. I have played it myself. I'm in the list from the German Nationals, and I kind of feel like it relies a little bit on the draw from the trainers instead of supporters. That might be a problem in a lot of item lock.
Meta.
But
it's basically like a Speed Rayquaza deck, but more reliable, I think.
Yeah, because you can play. Well, the goal of the deck is just to go like Trainer's Mail, Ultra Ball, Shaman, or Hoopa Shaman.
Yeah, basically like a Rayquaza deck.
Yeah, and draw a lot of cards from the build that I've seen at least.
The difference is basically you have Articuno and of course Quicking Punch, and that does offer a lot of versatility to the deck.
You also have Grenade Hammer, which is like
it's really good.
Yeah, it's really really good.
However, I do think it still has
lasers.
Sorry.
Could be better with lasers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
With lasers you can hit for 170.
Yeah.
With like a grenade. You know about that a lot, right? You played like bats with Seismitoad for.
Exactly. That's why I think like that attack isn't that good by himself, but with like some damage with it, it's better because you can one-shot Pokemons. Otherwise, you can't.
Yeah, 100% on that for sure.
I mean, you can't one-shot the babies. The baby I've had all.
Yeah. And you can one-shot Shamans, which is kind of important.
Yeah,
actually, it's actually like the way that the deck wins against like against Greninja is you just go crazy with the energy acceleration on the.
Basically have to pressure
the Articuno. And you're trying to take like a couple of prizes on every single hit, and then you switch to Seismitoad and try to Lysander out a Shaman. So
I mean, I haven't seen Greninja lists running Shaman, to be honest. But that's kind of new for me that people play Shaman.
People play what's the name of the Octillery most of the times, right?
Yeah.
Or none.
Or nothing.
Or none, yeah.
I think playing nothing is something that you see a lot here in Portugal, But I have to be honest, I haven't really seen people in other countries not playing anything. Is there a lot of that?
Yeah, I've seen the Auxiliary, but I think the list is just better without anything.
Okay. Not even Shaman.
Greninja is
If you play
energy,
Shaman, you have to be playing one, and you have to be really careful with it, because the only way Night March will beat you is if you discard the Shaman or something happens. So yeah.
Well, still, Greninja does beat Night March most of the time, but Water Box is basically Rayquaza deck that can actually beat Night March and Greninja, and I think that's why it's still, well, not as popular, because I think it was like overhyped and not as good as people thought it would be, but still has all the weaknesses that Speed deck has, and not the favorable traits that Night March has.
Yeah, it might have some trouble with the item lock meta that we are living in. There's 3 different item lock decks. That's kind of crazy, right? I mean, there's Trevenant, there's Vespi, Plume, and there's Toad decks in general.
Toad decks are still strong. It really surprised me.
Do you agree, Igor?
I think they are, but like we can also look at counter decks like Vespi Queen Velplume just beats Toad, and Toadina beats most of the other Toads.
Yeah.
I mean, not the Water Toad, I guess.
The problem is now people are when a new expansion comes out, it's normal for decks to be a little more inconsistent, and Night March does really take advantage of that. If people try new things, new decks, and turns out that only makes the deck inconsistent, the most consistent deck will always win, and I think that's why Night March is so well. It actually rose after Fates Collide. But
if there's any deck that beats like Trainer Lock and Crass Weakness and Night March, that's the best deck for sure. So I can see here.
Yeah, people have been playing a lot of Sceptile too, but that also kind of loses to Night March. So it's a mega deck. You'd think that the megas would be really well positioned because of the high HP, but they're actually a little bit on the slower side, and they kind of need the support from other Pokemon like Hoopa and Shaman sometimes. So
Night March does wrap the metagame around it.
Yeah.
If you can't beat Night March, it's a gamble.
We've actually seen an interesting Sceptile deck list without any Shaman or Hoopa. Have you seen that?
What? Sceptile, Shaman, Hoopa?
No Shaman, no Hoopa, just the Sceptiles and Silent Labs. Actually,
no.
There was a deck list. Actually, do you know where that was from, João?
I don't know, but basically I have the list in my mind. I mean,
okay. I sorry to the guy that came up with that. I think he's a very good European player from some nationals.
If you do find it, we'll link it on the description.
Yeah. And it's interesting, but I think ultimately it's really hard to assemble your game plan without the Hoopa and the Shaman.
If you're like trying to just beat those decks like Night March and you face a random matchup like you can in every tournament, you just lose because your deck is not good. Like,
if you have a counter deck,
it's like you're playing Sceptile and you get the random kid with the anti deck.
Yeah, that's very relevant for, well, we were just talking about it on US Nationals.
Yeah.
You can't just play a deck that counters the meta, because we will face random decks in the first rounds. I mean, it's the biggest tournament, so...
I mean, I played against Wailords here, I played against Durant decks, like, often. Every tournament I play against one.
I mean, so with so many players... I mean,
even Wailord will be played in US Nationals.
Yeah. There's always that guy, right?
Because like you can just be lucky every round and face like good matchups. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Weird things happen.
Yeah. It is true. That is true.
Yeah, so a consistent deck is just better for US Nationals. So I mean, Night March will be the most popular one. I think we can...
it's a general consensus right now.
Yeah.
Do you think...
So your deck has to beat Night March.
Yeah.
That's the point here.
You're better playing it than countering it, even if you win always.
Yeah, that's true.
In general, yeah. Do you think it is like that easy of a deck to play, or do you think there's more to it? Because a lot of people say that it's really easy to play Night March.
It's really easy to play Night March. It's really easy, but it's not really easy to be good at
Straight
Night.
to the point. I like it.
No, but he said, go on. Sorry.
It's not easy to like be good at Night March.
Yeah,
That's different because like a good night, I don't know. There's a lot of plays. There's like the floatstone play. You don't play the floatstone down. The only way you lose is like if they against matchups that you usually win, they can play around your way to retreat, and you lose him because you can't get your attacker and your guy out of the active. Like energy on the attacker and the guy out of the active without attaching.
Basically, it's easy to learn, hard to master.
And also there's matchups that if you fall behind, you can win unless you go for the target whistle, shaman, and you have to have a good plan. And like, I was watching a game of a Night March player, and he lost because he was dumb the way he took his prizes. He lost because of time.
Oh.
And instead of going for the prize like race and not care about like the board if his opponent can like he basically went for the safe play and got punished by it and lost because of time.
I can't agree more than with that, with what she's saying. Actually, have you seen? You didn't. Well, I guess you didn't because of the time zones. But you didn't see the Danish nationals, have you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any nationals.
Okay, I was predicting so. Not only because of the time zone is kind of hard on you. It was like at 9 o'clock here.
Watch the next one.
Yeah.
I was just asking because the guy that won, especially in the semifinals, I don't remember his name, sorry, Danish national champion. He on the semifinals he was playing against Greninja, and both players were playing so well. I mean, it's really you can't really argue with that. There's a lot of skill in that. And their technical play was so good that I think it was awesome to watch. Even if it's Night March and people just say it's easy, I think people seeing that match being played out, they can't really argue against there being a lot of skill in there.
Well, it's popular, it wins, so people will always complain.
I mean, it's easy to play Night March, but
to go that extra mile, right? To
win like bad matchups with Night March, you have to be good with the deck.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it's actually worth it to tech against the mirror in Night March?
I think it's starting to be.
How do you tech against the mirror?
There are some things that you can try. One of
them... You can run a Barbacle, for example.
One of them is the Barbaracle, or what's the name?
Barbaracle. I think you said it right.
Yeah. I've seen... And actually I've built and played with a list that plays one Barbaracle with arches. It's kind of hard. Well, you don't always get it, but sometimes you do. And the thing with Night March mirrors is that as soon as they see that you're playing Night March, they try to delay the stadium as much as they can. Yeah. That also gives you a window to drop your Barbaracle and play your stadium before them. So that it's your stadium that's down, so Barbaracle is in play, and you basically deny their energy. They basically have to play the X-Maniac every time they want to drop an energy.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. But I think it kind of works on the assumption that people don't know about it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you know about it, just play.
Although if you play the stadium first anyway.
Sometimes you just play the stadium as soon as possible to be the one.
To avoid it.
Play the stadium and not like have that card in your deck forever.
Yeah.
Have ways to discard it, but I mean, Night March has a lot of ways to discard their cards.
Yeah. I mean, you can also play a Delinquent in there, but it's an extra card, and you don't have a lot of... I feel like the deck kind of has like 55 cards that
also, another way you can win is just don't play Shamans. Just try to like... Don't play Shamans down, don't discard Shamans, don't...
It's really hard to not play them.
Just try to shuffle them in the deck. Shaman.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard to not play them, but...
I mean, it's not really hard. Yeah, it's hard to not discard
I think you kind of have to be really smart about it. Like you have to put them down in positions where you can then pick them up with a Sky Return or something like on a Joltik.
Yeah, exactly. That's really true. I mean, Megaphone will help you to do that since they can't attach
Exactly.
So Shaman is actually really good with Barbaracle because they are faced with decision if they either they X-Maniac or Lysander. Yeah. So that may be a really good tech.
Yeah, I mean, I've played with it, and it's awesome when you pull it off, but it's also
you do have to play the arches. And
yeah, and because you're playing arches, well, you don't have to play the arches because it's a stage one, so you can assemble it normally. But I think it's easier with the arches. It does force you to discard some cards that sometimes you don't want to, like the puzzles and the DCEs.
Since you already probably play Glade, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess you kind of have to choose between them, right? You can't play both.
I mean, you can play both and play one Archies or one Maxis. I mean,
because it's different supporters, it kind of makes it harder, you know.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I do think, well, if you really wanted to, I guess you do have the space, because in my mind, Night March kind of has like 55 cards that you really have to play, and you have like 4 or 5 floating slots that you can then change to customize your deck. It might seem like very little, but I think it actually goes a long way, because you basically have access to your whole deck like on the second turn, right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of can play around that.
I don't like playing too many stadiums in Night March.
You only play 2, like 2 Dimension Valley?
Either 2 or 1.
Only 1?
Because you can attack with just Joltik and win the matchups.
That is true. And in a meta with a lot of Night March,
basically the opponent will have the stadium. You have puzzles.
That's actually really smart. And if you're playing a meta with a lot of Night Marchers, I think you actually have a great point there.
The meta, he's going to have a lot of Night Marches, we all know that.
Totally agree with that. That's actually very, very interesting, very smart, actually. Really like that.
Then you have space for the Barbarical.
You have space for everything.
Yeah. Another popular tech that has been popping up, it's the 1/1 Vespi Queen.
Yeah. So that at UK Nationals, right?
Basically to deal with water decks, like Toad-based decks, and Greninja, of course. Do you guys think it's like the standard Night March right now, or is it not worth it?
I mean, I haven't played it yet, but it seems good.
I think that, it does seem good against Toad, although it is a stage 1 that you kind of have to assemble under item lock.
Greninja, though. Greninja
does.
I don't think you need it against Greninja, you know? I think you don't have
the plan is still the same. Basically, you have a Night March and then you...
Well, one thing is true. It's harder to knock out the Vespa Queen, because it's 90 HP, right? So that's one thing that it has for it, is that it's harder to knock out.
If the Greninja player doesn't run many megaphones with the Fighting Fury belt, it's basically the same. If it does run like 2 megaphones, then I think that's a valid argument.
We kind of have to assume that they're going to be playing their...
Yeah, of course.
Their hammers. But it does make it a little harder. But I don't think it's really attack against... In my opinion, it's not really against Greninja. It's more against Toad decks. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the same argument
against Greninja, just keep your many X in the deck instead of taking them out for that.
Of course, yeah.
If you're playing 2, it's really easy, because you can discard 1 and keep 1 in there.
Yeah.
So you have more access to...
Well, against Toad, it's basically the same plan against N. You basically try to draw as much as you can from your deck, and then assembling the Vespi Queen should be easier in the first few turns,
I guess. Igor, how many supporters that draw cards are you considering in Night March? Like 2 Sycamore?
I've been playing 2 Junipers only, but
no ends.
No. For draw, that's shuffle. 2 Junipers, but might need more because of Trevenant being more popular, and also, N is always good, right?
Yeah.
And
don't you think like
one teammates, because teammates works so well with puzzles all the time?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to, like, teammates is one of the mandatory cards in the deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about Town Map? Do you think it's worth it? Because you're talking about puzzles.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need for the 1 Dimension Valley, right?
It's better to have Town Map there than it is to have in Virgin.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
If you look at your prizes and see like too many Night Marches in the beginning, just scoop probably to gain more time.
If the game is dragging out, sure.
Yeah. You actually didn't play. Now that you mentioned it, you didn't really play Town Map in the list, in the Genesect list that you piloted to second place at Worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the first two prizes that you take is usually without using G Booster.
Yeah.
Like the odds of taking like the.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The odds of having G Booster in the last 4 prizes is really
33%, and then you can take more prizes if you need to.
Totally agree with that.
If that card is actually relevant for your setup, it will be relevant in much more matches than the one in, like that G Booster is priced in the first 4 prizes.
Yeah. So okay, Town Map mandatory card in Night March. I also agree with that. I think it just makes the puzzles like really really good.
What
Not only the
Zero
puzzles, but you draw the DCs and all that.
Mm-hmm. What was about Zero Seek in Night March against Giratina? Because Totina is still somewhat of a popular deck.
Is it?
It still has some results. And the Night March deck can have a single supporter just for some situations. So is it worth it still running 1-0 Seek or not anymore? What do you guys think?
I have to say that I cut my energy removal from the deck.
Your Enhanced Hammer?
Both the Enhanced Hammer and the Zero Zik. I'm trying it without it. I'm only playing like the Megaphone to get rid of the tools. But okay, I might switch the Megaphone with a Zero Zik, but I'm cutting down to the minimum of energy removal cards because I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of Giratinas.
Yeah, I mean it's just against that one card.
Yeah. Are you playing any Zero Zik in your Night March builds?
Yeah. Because against Mirror, sometimes it's good to discard the Floatstone and kill the Night Marcher, and if they don't have a way to come back with another Night Marcher to the active, they get in trouble to take the...
But don't you think that the Megaphone is enough for that?
I mean, I would rather play Jurassic than Megaphone because I have more access to the Jurassic with the Versus Seeker, and Megaphone isn't that easy.
You can also play it against Toad, right? And the Megaphone.
Exactly.
So you get more use out of a single slot.
Yeah.
But you still run 0-6ers because, well, you don't auto lose to a Giratina attack. What about Vespiquen Vileplume? I mean, it was also one of the top decks, and now it's actually falling in our table. So is it not longer a top deck? Is it bad against the current meta?
What I think is happening is people are starting to learn how to play against it, and a single tech goes a long way because that deck is such a glass cannon, and it's I think in my opinion, it's a little bit fragile.
I mean, you lock yourself also. So.
Yeah, because if you're playing, and not only that, but the whole deck is like it's going all in on the Vespiquen and the Vileplume. And you play very little supporters. You don't have a lot of room for Lysanders and stuff like that. So you're kind of like can only play one Lysander, one AZ, and stuff like that. So like a single Aegislash in the opponent's deck goes a long way because they kind of get in a...
I mean, I do think the deck really falls apart facing a couple of ends. Unlike Night March, you have the remaining of your deck filled with Trainer's Mail and Versus Seeker to get the remaining of the prizes, but Vespiquen is just locked, and
if you get rid of all the energy they have in play,
of course, and actually End does bring the opponent more chances to draw even with the item lock.
Yeah,
that really hurts the deck. So I do think the deck will...
I feel like the deck loses to himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then you have players like Tamao winning in in the UK.
I mean, if you win with the deck, it's because you drew the deck like in a perfect order, I guess.
Yeah, but he's also a very good player, so I guess sometimes he must have pulled something off with a... I've seen one of the games
because your hand can like get stuck at some point if you play Vileplume down and you just draw trainers and shit.
Yeah,
because you have a lot.
You have to know when to play your Vileplume. It's really crucial.
I've seen one of his games, and he was actually like, I think he still lost, but he was really smart because he was like cycling his supporters with a Bunnelby, and that was like, you can see that he was a very good player and very masterful with the deck. But
it's like Night March; it does have some nuances to the deck. You can make some plays that some players that are inexperienced with the deck do not see it right away.
But I
It does make
I
sense.
totally agree that it does lose to itself a lot. I can't
Mhm.
actually play with it myself, so it's a struggle.
Yeah, but N does art the deck much more than any other in the list.
Yeah. Any other decks, Igor, that you feel are good for standard?
We talked about Ninja, right?
Talked about Toad lists.
March, and yeah, that's basically. I mean, there's also like Totina and Monetric, and Slow King Toad. That's
Yeah.
a lot of.
You think that's that's still good? I mean,
Those are like tier 2.
yeah.
Toad is it's always hard to win against Toad. So
Yeah,
that's
it's you always have to count with Toad, right?
yeah.
Such a strong card. I mean, even the fact that we've seen a lot of the first attack, right? And now people are starting to use Grenade Hammer a lot, and it's it's actually really good. Also, just for 3 energy, you're dealing 130.
What do you guys feel about Yveltal? I mean, it's a cheap deck. It's a deck that doesn't have a really
Yeah,
many
there's
bad
also like
matchups.
Zorwark too.
Yeah.
Those decks and Rayquaza, I've seen a lot of Rayquaza, but those I don't know if those start to.
Have you tried Mewbox and Jolteon Glaceon decks?
Oh, not yet.
Do you have a strong opinion on them?
I think they're good, but like
Really? That's
so
You haven't
many,
shown any results though.
with
Yeah.
so many like lock decks, they won't work. It's like before when we had those 2-box decks. If there was any trainer lock deck, would beat that. So
Yeah.
now it's a lot of trainer lock and Night March. Night March is like most consistent deck, and those decks like.
my feeling about that deck is that you kind of have the Jolteon in there, and you're kind of saying, okay, I won't lose against Night March, but then you lose against Night March.
Yeah,
It
because
doesn't
of
do
Target
basically
Whistle.
nothing against Night March.
Yeah, because Target Whistle just plays around that
Yeah.
stuff.
And if you
And-
you God forbid you play another Pokemon on your bench, because then you're just.
I mean,
there.
you still lose against Greninja, you lose against Night March, and when you lose against top 2 decks, I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing going for you.
Yeah. But you were asking about Yveltal. Sorry, I interrupted with the toolbox. I do think it's a fairly balanced deck. I don't think it has any.
It does have the factor that many people are used to play the deck, so we were just talking about
I guess, but
Nationals.
you can also tech it, or you can play
There are
very
a lot of
different lists.
different ways,
You know?
yeah.
You can play it with the Gallade or without Gallade. You can focus more on the Zoroarks. You
Mhm.
can have the Yveltal EX in there. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with Darkness right now. I think it's well positioned.
What about the Zygarde lists? The Zygarde.
Nice point, actually.
Oh yeah, the fighting lists.
Yeah. It kind of
Yeah.
there has
You've
to be
been
something
testing
there.
them. What
Yeah,
do you think?
I tested the all sorts of fighting decks. There has to be something there. I mean, there's so much support. There's so many good cards, but I don't know, man. I haven't been able to build something.
I do think that's one of those decks that someone will figure out a way that that deck will just be the best deck in format and will dominate worlds with it.
I don't know. It is possible.
That has happened way too often.
In my opinion, at least. What do you think, Igor?
I don't know that much about like fighting decks because they're pretty inconsistent most times.
Yeah, I mean, right now I kind of have to disagree with that, because you have like 4N, 4 Sycamore, 4 Corina.
Yeah, but that's all sporters. You like if you play sporters every turn, what are you gonna do with your turners?
Yeah, that is true.
How are you gonna like disrupt your opponent with sporters? Right now, I feel like the best turn in the game is turn 1 X Mania.
Yeah,
Because you won't develop anything in the first turn to attack, and if you X-Manic first turn, your opponent probably misses a turn.
But that's one of the key points of the deck. It's so reliable against X-Maniac or any other disruption. It just does its own thing,
Yeah,
and
fine.
it's really consistent in what it does. It doesn't do anything too much. It doesn't bring out the spectacle of too
Question is, does it
much
beat
damage, but there's something consistent. So if anything that might be not explored, then that's either fighting or Genesect.
I do think that it does have a little bit of trouble against Night March, but it's not the worst thing, just because Zygarde has 190, and that sometimes does make a difference.
Actually,
So
Yeah,
it's a
with
little
the-
bit better than most EX decks, but not by much. I mean, they still defeat Mega decks, so and you kind of have you have to play both Lucario and Zygarde, I think, if you're going that route with the big EXs, because one of them is weak against Grass and the other is weak against Psychic. So you kind of want different attackers against Vespiquen and Night March, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can start with the wrong one.
Yeah, that's so true.
Although Zygarde might be really good right now because, well, as we've seen, Vespiquen is not showing as much results as it used to.
But actually, I do agree with Igor. I mean, the biggest hurdle for the deck, for the fighting decks that I've found, is actually beating Greninja.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to go all in with the pressure. You can't really rely on playing X-Maniac every single turn.
Of course.
Sometimes you can't even rely on playing X-Maniac at all, like in your deck, and that does hurt it a little bit, or a lot, against Greninja specifically.
There isn't just one strategy that beats both Night March and Greninja.
Yeah. And item lock. As Igor said, if you beat all those things, you're the best deck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be something out there. I mean, last year we saw Archie's Blastoise.
Yeah.
I mean,
if people do not prepare against it.
Yeah.
You were saying, Igor?
Might make top, but if it faces a good one of those matchups, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
One of those might be one of those decks that wins one big tournament.
Yeah, but we've seen fighting before. We've seen Groundon and people weren't that prepared for it and destroyed most of the toads.
Yeah, whatever it is, it will be a predictable deck.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. There's gonna be some for sure.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of support. There has to be something there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feels like we just have to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
What about Megan Rayquaza? I think the deck is really not a good position right now.
You play that deck a lot, right?
I played it before Night March was this big of a thing.
Okay.
Because I do not think with X-Maniac the deck cannot beat Night March.
Do you like it, Igor?
Rayquaza? No, I don't. There's still Monetrix and there's still Night March and there's still Trainer Lock decks like Giratina Jet that can just beat that. So.
Yeah. That's
Night March has Puzzle of Time and X-Maniac.
And Joltix that have that.
Yeah.
Single Rayquaza.
You can try to survive and make life harder for the Night March player, but you're still gonna lose.
Yeah, even Altaria is not a good protection because of the X-Maniac.
There's X-Maniac.
Yeah.
And they can, even if you go Jolteon, it's played with Jolteon now. Night March can just target Whistle, Lysander, and keep taking 2 prizes at a time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we covered most stuff on Standard. I don't think we're forgetting anything.
Yeah, I think that's
about the fighting stuff. So I guess we can get into the shield talk if you guys want for these last minutes.
Yeah, I kind of have to go, to be honest.
Okay. Do you want to?
Is that alright with you guys?
No. Yeah, it is. We're getting close to an hour. So.
Before you go, you want to talk about your streaming plans?
Yeah,
that's where.
I'm gonna start streaming tomorrow. So when this goes live, probably. Yeah. So I'll leave the link to you guys. You can just put it there.
Yep.
I'll also post it on my Facebook and Twitter. And I'm gonna play some Pokemon online to practice for nationals. And I've been playing against bad players there because my rank is low. I usually play online. So if someone wants to play against me, feel free to ask. And
all right. I'll be watching for sure.
Thanks. Okay.
So I think that's it. Don't forget to go check out Igor in the streaming live now.
Thanks for the podcast.
No problem. Bye.